Play action. And Manning's going to heave one. There's a flag. Beckham, a one-handed catch. How in the world?
That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Manning throws. Beckham, a diving catch. What a catch! Odell Beckham Jr. for Giants touchdown.
You have got to be kidding me.
I think he's a sensational talent, and his talent warrants his money. Having said all of that, I'm getting sick of him. I'm getting sick of his idiocy. He's compromising his dollars because the New York Giants are sitting back and saying, how much of an investment should we really make in you? How much can we trust you?
Now, there's the physical pain, obviously, but also the mental frustration and disappointment.
The emotional roller coaster for Beckham.
To say that this man was a rising star in the NFL would be a huge understatement.
Odell Beckham Jr. at one point in time was one of the top receivers in the NFL, but a few untimely injuries along with some on-the-field incidents led to him being one of the most forgotten NFL players in the league. But we have to sit back and ask ourselves, how did Odell go from being one of the top receivers in the NFL to, at the time of me recording this, not even being on the NFL roster? Well, in today's video, we're going to be looking back at the career of Odell Beckham to see where things went wrong and what his potential legacy will be in a few years. But before we get into his professional career, let's look back at what OBJ was doing prior to being drafted in the NFL.
Coming out of high school, Odell was considered a 4-star recruit who would end up committing to Louisiana State University. During his 3 seasons at LSU, OBJ would compile 143 receptions for 2,340 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns, while also making his impact known in the punt return game, having 557 punt return yards and 2 touchdowns. His impressive college career led to the Giants taking him with the 12th overall pick in the 2014 NFL Draft.
Now, Odell had missed the first 4 games of the 2014 season, and when he came back, he had a few sparks here and there for the Giants, but on November 23rd, 2014, one play made Odell from a rookie into a household name real quick.
It's the first play of the second quarter in a 7-3 game with the Giants having the advantage over the Dallas Cowboys. What would happen next? Well, you already know what happened next.
Coming back. Play action. And Manning's going to heave one. There's a flag. Beckham, a one-handed catch. How in the world?
Oh, my goodness.
And Brandon.
That one-handed catch was not only the highlight of the 2014 NFL season, but will be one of the ultimate highlights of Odell Beckham's career. Now, as for the entirety of the 2014 season, Odell will compile 91 receptions for 1,305 receiving yards with 12 touchdowns, while also not only winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, but making the Pro Bowl as a rookie as well. Odell's production will only go up in the 2015 season, as he will have 96 receptions for 1,450 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns, while also not only making the Pro Bowl again this year, but being on the All-Pro second team as well. This season, however, will be the first time that we will see Odell act out of character when he was faced up against Josh Norman.
Now, granted, this was the first time that NFL fans, including myself, saw Odell act out of character before, so we didn't really pay no mind to it. But in the 2016 season, his on-the-field incidents would continue to rear his ugly head.
It was during this season where Odell would hit a kicking net, with the kicking net getting his lick back. Then a week later, Odell would embrace the kicking net and give it a hug in an act of apology. Then a week after that, Odell would end up proposing to the kicking net, and I assume the kicking net said yes. Anyway, despite all of that, Odell was still racking up good numbers on the football field, having 101 receptions for 1,367 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns, while also not only making the Pro Bowl once again, but being on the All-Pro second team for a second year in a row. In his first playoff game, however, Odell and the team would have a lackluster performance, with him having 4 receptions for 28 receiving yards and 0 touchdowns. It also didn't help that these boys took a picture on the boat before the playoff game, and this image has cursed the Giants really up until this day.
Now, in the 2017 season, Odell was looking to build upon his production from the previous season, but in the game against the Chargers, he would end up injuring his ankle, which would prematurely end his season after only playing in 4 games this year.
He also did this before the ankle injury in the 2017 season, which made people even further question his character on the field. Odell would bounce back, however, in the 2018 season having 77 receptions for 1,052 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. But once again, there was times where Odell was visibly upset on the sidelines in what would end up being his final season with the New York Giants.
Then, in the 2019 offseason, a blockbuster trade sent shockwaves throughout the whole NFL.
Odell Beckham Jr. is a Cleveland Brown. Cleveland makes another big move as it looks to reach the playoffs for the first time since 2002.
Odell will end up being traded to the Cleveland Browns in the 2019 offseason in the move that many considered to make Cleveland Super Bowl contenders. This move alone will make Cleveland have the 11th best preseason odds to make the Super Bowl after going 7-8-1 in the previous season.
So you would think with the acquisition of Odell Beckham to the Browns, along with Baker Mayfield coming off a great rookie season, also with the additional moves that the Browns made this offseason, you would think they would go out and win the Super Bowl, right? Right?
Nope.
Okay, so this season will end up being a huge disappointment for the Browns as they will go 6-10, but Odell was still racking up pretty good numbers with 74 receptions for 1,035 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. At the start of the 2020 season, Odell had racked up 23 receptions for 319 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. But his season would prematurely come to an end as he tore his ACL in the Week 7 matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, OBJ was looking to bounce back in the 2021 season and continue to be a vital part for the Cleveland Browns.
But with the lack of team success, along with a few things going on off the field between Odell and the Browns, the team ended up releasing him late in the 2021 season.
It didn't take Odell long, however, to get picked up by a new team as the LA Rams would sign him quickly after his release by the Browns, and he would rack up 44 receptions for 537 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns between his time spent with the Browns and the Rams during that season. And then during the Rams playoff run, Odell had 21 receptions for 288 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns.
So at this point, Odell carved out a pretty prominent role with the LA Rams and was one of the reasons why they were able to make the Super Bowl this year. And when it seemed like Odell was finally being able to get healthy and show people why he was one of the top receivers in this 2014 draft class, the injury bug once again bit him at one of the worst times imaginable.
It's the second quarter of Super Bowl 56 with the Rams up 13-10. Odell had already made a statement in that year's big game by scoring a touchdown in the first quarter. But then, this happened. Odell had suffered a torn Achilles injury in the biggest game of his NFL career and will end up missing the rest of the Super Bowl. The LA Rams will go on to win the Super Bowl, however, in a close battle with the Cincinnati Bengals, win the game 23-20. And the emotion on Odell's face after the game says it all. During the 2022 offseason, Odell didn't sign with the team as he took the time out to recover from his torn Achilles injury. But in the 2023 offseason, Odell ended up signing with the Baltimore Ravens. And during the 2023 season, he racked up 35 receptions for 565 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. Then in the 2024 offseason, Odell ended up signing with the Miami Dolphins. But with a minimal amount of snaps being played during the season, him and the team eventually agreed to part ways.
So now, the question is, what is Odell Beckham's legacy? And in my opinion, I feel as if his legacy is one of the top wide receivers at one point in time, but then injuries ultimately derailed his career. And another thing with Odell that you can say about him is that when he first entered the league, he wore his emotions on his sleeve. You know, he had a lot of on-the-field outbursts on the sidelines, but that's only because he cared about the game so much. And it's good to have a player that carries that kind of emotion, but it's also good to have him dial it down a little bit. And I feel as if later on in his career, he was able to do that as well. And he was able to not only tone down his emotions, but still prove why he's a reliable and productive wide receiver in the NFL. Now, having said all that, I still feel that Odell has a lot left in the tank, and any NFL team will be fortunate enough to sign him. Now, which NFL team is willing to take a chance on a 32-year-old wide receiver with an injury history remains to be seen. But I still think that Odell, when healthy, is a reliable NFL receiver who's able to give you some explosive plays on the field. Now, if I were to give y'all my opinion on which team I think he should sign for, right here, but that's just me. Don't sign him right now though. Don't sign him right there. This season's been a lost season for us. But next year when we have a plan in place, then maybe we can sign Odell. But yeah, that's the video. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching. And just a quick announcement in regards to the future of this channel. The goal in 2025 is to take this channel to another level higher. This year was a good little start for this channel, but the goal is to go higher in 2025. And I'm strictly focusing on making YouTube videos, no more podcasts or anything like that in the near future. Just strictly making YouTube videos on NFL players, NBA players, the NFL, the NBA, and the Bulls and Saints respectively. But again, appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. And as always, KGF, keep God first.